Hey guys, welcome to the 3D market commentary for today. Today is Tuesday, October the 19th, and we are doing a 3D market commentary, which is essentially looking at an email that we send out every day and looking at where we have probabilities and statistics using technology on 5 major world markets, looking at 3 different elements, hence why we call it 3D. So we'll look at that in a sec. Let's just first make sure we've got the disclaimers up on the top right hand corner. We've also got email addresses down here that can help you. So we've got Becky@tradictive.com, that's there, and then support@tradictive.com as well, that you can email us if you have any questions. And of course, please make sure that you do read the disclaimers. Okay, so let's just point you very quickly to this link here, which is tradewithufos.com/Becky. From this link, you can get apps on different platforms, depending on which ones that you use. You can book one-on-one coaching with us, and you can come down here to ask us questions in a public space, which is great because then it means I can answer it in a public space and we all learn from this environment together, because we'll have a list of questions that people have already asked and their answers attached. So you can check that out as well if you do have any questions. Okay, so let's have a look at our news flash. And what I'm going to do as well, I'm just going to get rid of the toolbar just because it annoys me if it's in the way. So I'm just going to move it out of the way. There we go. Cool. Where were we? We were looking at our news flash and our markets. Now the news flash is an email that we send out. Like I said, it looks at statistics on 5 major world markets, looking at 3 different elements, 3 different things per market. So first things first, what we look at is market climate. That's where do we have probabilities? Do we have probabilities up, down, or maybe nowhere? And therefore, do we buy, sell, or do nothing? So the first thing we should ask ourselves when we trade is, where are the probabilities? Where's the market moving? Up or down or nowhere? And then therefore, do we buy, sell, or do nothing? And again, we use apps and technology to help us with everything. So here we use the AutoClimate app, which is a free app on most platforms you can get it on. If you ignore the lines and just focus on the dots, it tells us where we have probability. If we have a thick blue dot, that tells us probability is upwards. If we have a thick red dot, that tells us probability is downwards. And if we have a thin dot of either colour, then the probabilities are in either direction, in which case we do nothing. So we're answering that question very easily using technology that helps us figure that out. Then what we might want to know is, where are buyers and sellers? Where are lots of buyers and lots of sellers? Now, why is that helpful? Because if we have a bunch of buyers in a market, they're likely to push price up. If we have a bunch of sellers in a market, they're likely to push price down. So again, we use an app to tell us where those buyers and sellers might be. So it's called AutoUFOs. And when we look at these green UFOs, again, it tells us the prices on the side as well. That shows us where the buyers are. So if price were to come down and hit this big stack of buyers, it's likely to go up from there. So it gives us an idea of where we should be buying. Now, if it was a red UFO, which might look more something like this, if it was a red UFO with red little dots to the side and then red prices, then that would be showing us where sellers are and therefore where we should be selling. Because if price were to come up and hit the stack of sellers, it would likely fall from there. So we want to know where they are, and we'll look at those per market as well. Then what we might want to know, let's just highlight that again, is market volatility. How quickly are these markets likely to be moving? So we'll look at this per market, looking at a daily chart for each of them, and we're starting with the S&P 500, which is the top 500 US stocks. Now with that, we see that we have a confirmed upwards climate in the US stock market, probability upwards here. Now usually US stocks would go up for 9 candles, and we are on candle number 3. So that tells us that we've got probability to keep going up based on what usually happens. Now, what we also have, which is quite interesting here, is buy or sell orders not very close to us. So the closest stack of buy orders is all the way down here at 41.23 to 40.55.50, and we've got no sellers above us. So overall here, it's the climate really that's giving us the probability that price continues upwards. Now notice I say probability, right? I'm not saying that it's definitely going to happen. We never know. No one knows what's definitely going to happen in anything, let alone the markets. So we do still need to manage our risk. We may still add extra things in here that give us more probability, but at least we want to know where the probabilities lie to start with. And to start with here, we have probability there to the upside with the S&P. Now in terms of volatility, we would expect the S&P, so the top 500 US stocks, to go up or down in 1 year by 16.05%. So that means in a day, 45.43 points up or down. In a week is 100.01 points up or down. And in a month, it's 208.18 points up or down. So that's the S&P 500. So the next market we'll look at is going to be crude oil. Now, just before we load that, it says there about educating yourself. We do have a bunch of courses, so by all means, check those out. You can subscribe for AutoUFOs directly. You don't need to do a course to get them. However, most courses come with 3 months complimentary access to the apps anyway. So you could subscribe directly to the UFOs, or you could get it for free for 3 months as part of a course. That's usually the cheaper thing to do overall, but check it out, see what you want to do and how that works out for you. Okay, so with oil, let's just squidge this down so we can see a little bit better what's going on. With oil, we also have a thick blue dot, confirmed probability upwards, confirmed upwards climate. Now, oil usually goes up for 7 candles and we're on candle number 19. So that tells us we have gone quite a way past what is normal in terms of a move to the upside. So we do need to bear in mind that we're overextended there. Now, what we can also be looking at though is that we have buy orders just beneath us. In fact, we're literally just out of them now. So it's 82.18 to 74.96. This is where we have buyers. So we've got buyers pushing underneath us and we've got the climate pushing underneath us. No sellers above us. So still overall probability up. Just bear in mind we lack a little bit of probability because we're overextended. In terms of volatility on oil, we would expect movement up or down in 1 year of 35.02%. So in a day, that's 1.82 points up or down. In a week, 4.01 points up or down. Or in a month, 8.36 points up or down. So that's crude oil. Next market here is gold. Now before we load that, it says there about coaching and support. We do offer coaching and support for free on many platforms, so please do check us out on those. You can follow us in our sessions, watch us trade and explain things. And we also have a closed coaching community. It's a small monthly amount in order to have access to more of our time in a closed environment. So either way, same content, it's just about the amount of time that you get. So with gold, we have an unconfirmed climate. That's a thin dot. It doesn't matter what color it is. The fact that it's thin is telling us that we have not enough probabilities either way. Now, if we don't have enough probabilities either way, then we don't want to do anything. No point buying or selling a market that doesn't have probability up or down. Now, we do have sell orders close by. That's 1801.9 to 1787.6. If price were to hit these sell orders, we would expect price to fall from there. But for the time being, we obviously haven't hit them just yet. We've come very close, but we haven't hit them just yet. So we're still undecided. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with these sell orders, see if they do create a new move to the downside, but we will see. Now with volatility, we would expect the gold to go up or down in 1 year of 15.53%. So that's up or down in 1 day of 17.42 points. In a week would be 38.34 points. And in a month, 79.81 points. So that's gold. Next market is the US dollar. Now the US dollar is responsible for about 80% of transactions worldwide every day. So be aware of it. If you trade it or not, be aware of what it does because it will impact most other markets. Now with the US dollar, we have a confirmed downwards climate, a thick red dot here, so probability downwards. Now we have just hit buy orders. They are at 93.495 to 93.195. And notice how we touched them and we've moved away a little bit. So they have already worked to be pushing price up a little bit. That's why we want to know where they are so we can figure out where to buy. We have sell orders here at 94.57 to 94.235. So what we have at the moment really is sellers pushing down from the climate. Let's do that again. Sellers pushing down from the climate, but buyers pushing up where our stack of buyers are. And so we're kind of at a stalemate, I would say. I wouldn't call it in either direction because we've got two competing forces around about the same price, which means there's a fight going on. I would rather keep out of the fight, see who wins and jump on that. So we'll see what happens then. Now with volatility, with the US dollar, we would expect it to move up or down in 1 year of 5.09%. So in a day, that's up or down of 0.3 points. In a week would be 0.66 points, and in a month, 1.37 points. So that's the US dollar. Now, last but not least is backed Bitcoin. Now, backed Bitcoin is, of course, not as old as the other markets, so we don't know how long it usually goes up or down for, because it's not been around long enough to really get an average yet. But what we do know is that we have a confirmed upwards climate, thick blue dot, probability here to the upside. We also have buy orders beneath us at 58,347.5 to 53,860, and no sellers above us. So again, probability pushing there to the upside with Bitcoin. In terms of volatility, we'd expect Bitcoin to move up or down in 1 year of 92.22%. So that's up or down in 1 day of 3,604.39 points. In a week is 7,934.69, and in a month 16,517.38 points up or down. So that's each of our markets. For each of our markets, we've looked at climate. We've looked at an app that tells us where the probability is, up, down, or nowhere, and therefore we have an idea of whether or not to buy, sell, or do nothing. We've then looked at our buy and sell UFOs, unfilled orders. Where do we have buyers and where could we have sellers that could push price up or down respectively, giving us an idea of where to buy or sell. We've also looked at volatility, which is how quickly these markets are expected to move. Now, last thing we want to look at is our weekly economic calendar. We get this from fxstreet.com and we filter by high impact news just to see which scheduled news reports could be impacting the markets and creating extra volatility. So today we've got news coming out later on in the evening US time on Chinese markets. So if you trade Chinese markets or if you trade the yuan, then be aware of that. Any questions, guys, you can go to tradewithufos.com/Becky. That's this link here. And from here, you can get your apps if you want to get them directly from there. You can book one-on-one coaching with me, or you can sign in and you can ask questions here in this public space, which I can then answer in that public space. That gives everybody access to the questions and answers. Everybody learns from the same area. So hopefully that makes sense. If you need to email me, you can. That's becky@tradictive.com. Otherwise, guys, we will see you next time. We'll be back tomorrow with another market commentary. So we'll see you then. And if you have any questions, please